You're watching Discover DevTools, and this is level 5, where we're going to be going over the network panel. Any given web page that you load is made up of a bunch of network requests. You've got the HTML itself, JavaScripts, style sheets, images, maybe even some AJAX. And each of these network requests, well, the faster they happen, the more responsive your web page is going to feel. Now, DevTools gives you the timeline panel, which helps you identify bottlenecks in these network requests, which we're going to take a look at now. Here you can see we're back in our Calendar app. To see the network panel in action, we'll want to call it up and then refresh our browser. From left to right, it's showing us the name of each resource, the HTTP method used to get it, the response status code, which returned from the server, the file type of the response, what initiated the request in case we need to track that down later, the size of the file, how long it took, and over on the right side we can see a little waterfall, which shows us when each resource was requested and when it finished downloading. In case you're not familiar with status codes, they're pretty easy to Google. And this one, 304 not modified, means that my browser has already downloaded this resource before, and it has a local or cached copy that it's going to load up instead of downloading it again. To get an idea of how fast my page loads, when somebody first goes to it, I'm going to want to reload all the resources. To do this, I can hold down the Shift key now and then do a refresh. This is going to re-download everything. I can see now that downloading all the resources and completing the request took just a little over a second, 1.19 seconds to be precise. We can also see that our response statuses have all changed to 200 OK, meaning that they were all re-downloaded. When you're debugging the performance of your web page, you're going to want to disable the cache, and there's two more ways to do it. First, you can do it by going to the File menu and selecting New Incognito Window, which will not only use a fresh cache, but it also won't use any cookies you may have stored. You can also go down to the bottom right, click the gear icon, and open up the DevTools settings. There, you can select the Disable Cache checkbox. Now, let's take a closer look at what's going on over in our waterfall. The translucent bar shows the latency of our request, how long from the start of asking for a resource to the start of when it begins transferring back to us. The solid part shows us when the browser started and finished downloading that resource. The endpoint is when all data from that request was received. You might be wondering what all the different colors mean. Well, it's colored by the file type. HTML is blue, up at the top there, JavaScript is orange, style sheets are green, and images are purple. The first request that we did on this page is obviously the HTML page itself, the index.html. And if you take a look at that initiator column, you can see that all of the other resources were pulled down because we discovered them inside of the index.html. And you can actually click on those and it will bring you to the line inside the index.html where it discovered that it needed that resource. If we look over at the waterfall, you can see that it reflects exactly this. The resources are only requested after the index.html is downloaded. The blue line at the end of the timeline represents when the DOM content loaded event fired. This gets triggered when our browser is done parsing our HTML file, but it still could be loading resources. The red line signifies the load event, or when all the resources are done downloading. Sometimes there's a notable delay between those two events. If we click on the file name of a resource, we can get more information about that request. We're shown all the headers sent along with the request and the response. This can be really useful if you want to make sure your server has the correct cache settings. You can also preview the resource contents here, which for text files like HTML, JavaScript, or style sheets are just going to show you the contents. For images and fonts, you'll get a visual preview. Now it's time for you to start playing with the network panel in the challenges.